To pitch to the investors or to pitch to public voters? What is more difficult? To pitch about your company or to pitch about a political party? What is more difficult? To bounce back when the balance sheet goes up and down, or to bounce back when the party fails in an election? Do you know who am I talking about? Odisha has been my own state and has been one major contribution for having the national Bharatiya Janata Party in Lok Sabha. Has largely shaped to a large extent. The numbers have been a surprise for a lot of people. So one major question that always comes up, from corporate boardroom to political war room, how has the journey been?
Well, it's been transformative. It's been fantastic. Not that just because you sit in a corporate boardroom, you don't know about politics, you don't watch it, you don't see it. I was in student politics, and my family, one way or the other, was in public life. My father's eldest brother was the chairman of Cuttack municipality. My father himself was the Puri College Students' Union president. There were several cousins of mine who were active in politics, including campaigning in electoral politics, being in a range of parties. So we as a family have always been very steeped into public life. And therefore, it was not new to me. And second, I was driven by the desire to do something for our home state, Odisha. And therefore, when I made that choice, it was a very conscious choice. All those who know me, they knew always that someday I will go to public life.
That's great, sir. But why public life has to be equated with election? Because for 40 years, you were out of Odisha. You were in the best of your career when you decided to step down. I don't think I would have ever had the courage to do that, being in the best of my career shape, stepping down from there, entering into a sea where you're not very sure about what's happening. Everything was changing. What motivated you to take that risk?
So look, there's a difference between I wanted to join public life, but I wasn't sure necessarily that I would be fighting the Lok Sabha election. But when my party president, Mr. Naveen Patnaik, and the party asked me if I would be willing to contest from Cuttack, I think that being my town where I grew up, there was a certain degree of excitement about doing it, and I went and did it. Yes, not many people would have a courage to move away from the best years of their career into something very unknown, uncertain. But I think my entire life story has always been like that. I've never been afraid of trying something new, different, something for which I was not prepared. So that has always been my story of my life. So I wasn't very uncomfortable or very afraid or contemplative about making the change.
So you just told that you were never afraid of taking changes. Like your life entirely has been about making more risk. In this entire respect, when we see that the elections are over, everything is over, and I'm very sure that none of, like, even your party or you were not expecting with what happened in Cuttack, the result to be unfavorable to some extent to you. What do you really think? Is it Mr. Santrupt Misra who lost the election, or is it Biju Janata Dal, or BJP was better?
No, the fact is, when you lose something, all of you lose. When you win something, all of you win. So I think when a party loses, candidate lost, party lost, administration that you ran lost. And the reasons are very different. But I don't think you lose only because of yourself or because of your party. Particularly in Parliament, you have 7 assembly constituencies. There's track record of your assembly legislators also. So I think all of us together lose or win. So I don't think it is about a solo individual act.
You just mentioned that the track record of your existing legislature, the assembly MLAs. Are you in somewhere trying to also hint at understanding that maybe the MLAs could have performed better? Because as much as I understand that even the MLA performance does matter a lot for an MP election, because People are voting for that. Your MLA track record has been there, and you were not there in Odisha for a very long point of time. Your MLAs were your, foot soldiers out there.
No, we had some very veteran MLAs in my parliamentary constituency who had for 6 times or 7 times been there. And there were some others who were for 2 or 3 times there. So obviously, whenever people have been repeatedly elected, there could always be a fatigue syndrome. People might be looking for something new, different. Well, anti-incumbency happens both for the government and individuals who have elected, and particularly when so many times people have elected, sometimes people just want some change, And only after electing somebody they realize whether the change is for better or worse, or by that time it has happened. So I know, I am just saying that a party's win or loss is for a range of reasons, and it is not about individuals only.
So, I landed up in, during the election time, Youthocracy has been, my foundation has been working in the entire election thing. Before I could even step out of the flight, my mom gives me a call. The latest news. I was like, ab kya ho kya? She's like, guess who is BJD's Rajya Sabha candidate for, who is coming as the BJD's Rajya Sabha candidate? I was like, who? And it's like, everyone was expecting, and then there was suddenly, Santrupt Misra has stepped on and he is going to be BJD's Rajya Sabha candidate. The entire Odisha was speaking about that. You cannot deny this. I cannot deny this. Why suddenly, why not in Rajya Sabha yet?
No, see, this was all a media creation. Neither the party had said it, nor I had said it, nor I had expectation for Rajya Sabha, nor party had talked about it to me. I think people just put 2 and 2 together. My leaving corporate, which happened in mid-January 24, my joining the party on 9th of February, and I think 15th or so was the last date for Rajya Sabha, people just put 2 and 2 together. And, this is how people build a picture in their mind.
So you're denying me that you were not expecting Rajya Sabha and party?
No, of course, there was no conversation about it. Nobody offered, I didn't ask, nobody. See, I was very new to party politics. I had joined the party, and the purpose was Biju Janata Dal was focused on serving Odisha. I belong to Odisha. I thought all other parties would be national parties that are focused on many states. Here was a party led by Mr. Naveen Patnaik, who had given a very successful, strong, people-centric government for 24 years, has been focused on developing Odisha. I might as well go and further that agenda. And that's how the choice of the party was. It was never about any elections, Rajya Sabha or Lok Sabha. It was very nice of the party to trust somebody who came back to Odisha 40 years later, first time ever into politics, to be offered a ticket and opportunity to go and fight the elections. It's very kind of Mr. Naveen Patnaik, my party colleagues, party leaders, that they had the confidence and trust that I could make a good candidate. And I'm grateful for that. And I'm grateful to the people of Cuttack that despite my newness and 40 days of campaign only, they voted 4,74,000 people voted for me. And I think that was a phenomenal thing that people trusted and loved me so much in such a short period of time.
What went wrong with Biju Janata Dal for having this setback?
Look, first of all, we need to change this impression and narrative that something went wrong. You all are forgetting that in Odisha Assembly elections, Biju Janata Dal got more votes than BJP. Let's get the first fact. Okay. But the way the electoral arithmetic works, maybe we did not cross the 74, 75 mark to form the government. But in terms of absolute number of votes, we polled more than the BJP. But yes, the way electoral politics works, we didn't have enough MLAs to form the government, but 51 MLAs is a strong enough number. But you got to understand it in the context that 24 years we had been in power, repeatedly we have been elected. Obviously, people perhaps wanted a little bit of change and experiment to see if they could get a better government. But perhaps in the last 4 months, they have realized that maybe they did not vote for the better government. And I think the popular impression is if tomorrow elections are held, Mr. Naveen Patnaik and Biju Janata Dal will come back to power.
So you just mentioned right now that the popular mandate says that if tomorrow elections are done, then Mr. Naveen Patnaik may come into power. We cannot deny away from the fact that the entire election, Mr. Naveen Patnaik was somehow, until the last few days of the election, he was in the backdrop. The entire state was speculating, talking, and you can't put this on media because the entire state was talking about this, that Mr. V.K. Pandian is the one who is leading. The bureaucracy is leading the government. And right now when you say Mr. Naveen Patnaik, do you somewhere partially also agree that maybe things could have been changed, and to a large extent, because I come from a personal experience of understanding, I grew up in the era of, when Naveen Patnaik was the chief minister. I grew up seeing him as the chief minister. He's known as the Ajasatru, someone who never had enemies, he's loved by people. Over the years, third floor was restricted, not only for media. There were people who have shaped Biju Janata Dal to what it is or what it was for a large period of time. They were also not allowed to the third floor. They were restricted, there were permissions and everything. Because, of course, the bureaucracy was seen more in power than the chief minister who was elected. Now when you say Mr. Naveen Patnaik will be power, who do we talk about? Do we talk about Mr. Naveen Patnaik or do we talk about bureaucracy? Or are we sidelining bureaucracy?
No, I think, look, the way parliamentary democracy, including that of UK and India, or many of the parliamentary democracies have been formed, there is always a steel frame of government called the bureaucracy, which is the permanent executive. Political executive comes and goes with elections. So the permanent executive has its own role, political executive has its own role, and they're supposed to work together to serve the people of any state. I think Mr. Naveen Patnaik had perfected an example where he made the bureaucracy work for the people and the state while keeping a strong oversight regarding policy, development programs, etc. The number of innovative development programs that happened in Odisha in the last 24 years, including the latest ones like Biju Swasthya Kalyan and Nuao and many others, which the current government perhaps is trying to change with new colors or new names or whatever, all happened as a matter of political decision for how to shape the state. Once the political executive takes a decision, its implementation is with the bureaucracy. The bureaucracy has to follow through it. But I think at no point in time, right from the beginning of the state, whether it's infrastructure, whether it's irrigation, whether it is inviting investment, whether it is programs focused on farmers or women, healthcare, education, in all respects, it was Biju Janata Dal's electoral manifesto and its implementation through programs. So I think it should be to the credit of Mr. Naveen Patnaik that many times, in many places, people talk about either bureaucracy is corrupt or it is lethargic and doesn't work. He managed to make the bureaucracy work for the state. And I think that is one of his achievements amongst many, that he got the permanent executive to work for the welfare of the state.
No doubt on that. But at the same point of time, my major question still remains. Don't you believe over the years, the past years, the visibility of the person that as a citizen of Odisha, you and I have voted, it was unfair to the people of Odisha to not get to see my chief minister speaking there, and there were rumors speculating happening about his health and everything. There were so many speculations going around. It was not given, there was narratives being built, but there was no counter to it. It was a kind of hit.
Well, I think there are two parts to it. First, you said nobody saw the chief minister. That's not a fact. Even though I was outside of Odisha, I saw the chief minister. He used to visit to meet investors in Bombay. He used to visit for many other functions in Mumbai. I have invited him in another capacity earlier to inaugurate a school that we are setting up in Bhubaneswar, which he came. There were many other functions of media and others he used to go. I think what perhaps happened is because of affection, lot more people wanted to meet him. And COVID was a period where I think for health reasons, most people tried to protect the key administrators, be it a prime minister or a chief minister or people around them. COVID, all of us tried to protect ourselves. And it is natural that you protect a chief minister of a state. particularly if he's of an advancing age, you do that. And maybe that's what happened. And that appeared over a long period of time when you keep protecting someone, it appeared as if he's not accessible, he's not there. But I saw him in many political functions and public functions, whether convocations, dedications, inauguration, all of that he was there. So that is point number one. Point number two is the narratives that were created. Yes, perhaps as a party, we could have counteracted those more effectively and in time. But given the fact that Mr. Naveen Patnaik was in power for 24 years and he was so popular, perhaps somebody misread or miscalculated that there was no need for counteracting all of these narratives because he's so popular, so respected, and people have so much of affection. On hindsight today, I would believe perhaps there should have been more effective counter to those narratives.
While I agree with you that large part of Odisha election for years, for 24 years, Biju Janata Dal is equal to Mr. Naveen Patnaik.
Absolutely.
Now if I come to this question, post the elections, there has been rumors, there has been rift around the party, a lot of rift, and you were there yesterday or day before yesterday in the media and you just stated that jinko jana hoga, wo jayenge, if I'm not wrong. A lot of people change their parties and that happens in election, that happens in politics. But what about the internal rift in the party? There have been internal rift. There has been, I cannot, even if I side away, there has been rift around with the former general secretary. There were people who were not choosing to fight in some battles. They were forced to fight battles. The ticket distribution was in a haphazard. They didn't want to do something. Mr. Bobby Das, who was in the position of general secretary, he didn't have a say on his own thing, is what is believed in the media and people around. Don't you believe in all of this segment? Somewhere we see we took Mr. Naveen Patnaik's popularity as an arrogance. The entire Biju Janata Dal took it as more of an arrogance. कि इस बार भी हम निकाल देंगे seat.
No, I would say it was not an arrogance. You could call it an overconfidence and dependence on Mr. Naveen Patnaik's charisma, which is still there, significantly. That's why I am confident tomorrow also he will win. People do feel sad that the fact that Biju Janata Dal and Naveen Babu are out of power. But the rift point that you talk about, please remember political parties like any other human institution is a human institution. And wherever there are human beings, there will be always rift, latent or public. When a party that has been in power for 24 years, one fine morning, contrary to popular belief, loses power, it is an unacceptable phenomenon and change that people take time to cope with. And part of the coping mechanism always in institutions has been, whenever such a significant change happens, is to wonder why did it happen, who to blame, what didn't work. So all of this bewilderment and questioning comes out in public sometimes, appearing to be deeply divided rifts. But you got to remember, just because when a party like Biju Janata Dal has crores of members, sympathizers, supporters, simply because 5 or 7 people choose to come in the media and talk about some rift and conflict, don't ignore the other, significant amount of supporters and people who believe in the party. Whether it's the blood donation, whether it's the membership drive, whether it's a Padayatra from 2nd of October, or Naveen Babu's move to Durga Puja Pandals or, Ganpati Pandals, I think the affection that he receives. Biju Janata Dal is a strong institution. Few people leaving, few people commenting, few people being upset. When you have a large family, there will always be few people like that. That does not necessarily mean there's a lot of rift. If there cannot be debate, discussion, difference of views, disagreements within a political party, how does democracy work? One can always say that through an authoritarian structure of a political party, we can silence all dissent and make it a kind of calmness
So
of
you said
it.
this never happened in Biju Janata Dal.
No, I think perhaps from time to time it has always happened. If you go back in the history of Biju Janata Dal, there have been times when ministers, MLAs or MPs have been removed from the party, disciplinary action has been taken.
So you say that differences of opinions were not respected and they were removed?
No, I'm not saying that. I'm saying that there will always be divergence of thinking where you say you part company, which is fine. It is understandable. There is no political party in India today, or in the world for that matter, where within the party ranks there is no division, there is no dissent, there is no public expression of views. If you remember Margaret Thatcher's prime ministership in UK, his own deputy prime minister, Geoffrey Howe, spoke against her in the House of Commons. And the same thing with Democratic Party, Republican Party, there are different views. There are people within the Republican Party who are against President Donald Trump. There would be people within in Democratic Party in the US who would be speaking against Barack Obama or Kamala Harris or whoever. So there is no political party in the world where there is no rift, dissension, disagreement, people while being in a party being upset with the party. This is part of being a democratic institution. I do not know why, if it happens in Biju Janata Dal, people find it so surprising.
So maybe for a very long point of time, it was believed that BJD as a party has always been a space for diverse opinions.
Of course.
But in the last election, like the recent one we saw in the last few months, many of the times it has been visible, outrightly visible, that if you have a difference of opinion, when you don't agree with the party line, I totally understand. You can always choose to part ways. But when you have a free suggestion or a way of thinking, even if you bring from your years of experience, that was also not aligning with the personal interest of someone or any of the way how the party was functioning, people had to be sidelined.
No, I think you need to think about it slightly differently. There is, for every institution, there is a discipline. You have a point of view that is different, you express within that institution first. If you have not expressed that view within the institution, you have chosen a public platform or a media to go out and express, then one starts wondering what exactly is the motivation behind it. If you are really a well-wisher of the party and you want to reform it, change it, improve it, and which all of us would want and should do it, the forum is within the party. Write to the party president, party functionaries, debate within the party, absolutely perfect. But without doing that, when you first jump to the first opportunity to go and talk about it in the media, you start wondering what's the motivation. Second is, you must understand, as I said, when a party loses power after 24 years, there is emotional turbulence. Why? What has happened? Why to us? What could we have done? And there is a cathartic mechanism where people express. Sometimes some people are too emotional to go and express in public. Some people do not manage to contain their emotion. Some people believe there are sometimes repressed unhappiness where you go to blame somebody. You got to see that in context. It's like you come out of an accident, car accident, different people react differently. In the same family. This is like that, a shock event that happened where you lost power after 24 years. So people found their own ways to cope with it. But you will see, another 2 or 3 months, this will all subside. The party will come even stronger. Already as a...
It's still not there.
It is in the process. See, these are all human processes. Anybody who has a lost and near and dear one in a family, expecting them to very quickly, but we all do it differently, Some people bounce back quickly, some take a long time at the loss of a near and dear one. So our ability to cope with a transformative change is different. Our reactions are different. So you can't say a party is not one individual. There are lots of individuals.
4.5 koti Odisha Vasi.
Of course, there is that affection that is there of 4.5 koti Odisha Vasi, as you said, 4.5 crore Odias inside Odisha and many outside, yes.
Sir, how do you see this? I would ask it to someone who is an advisor, strategic advisor. You have been having your years of experience and very close to the powerhouse. And one major question. Everybody has this in their lips. Is it the end of Biju Janata Dal or is it just an interval in the movie?
I think, writing off anybody in politics would be the stupidest mistake anybody can make. So same party, which is today in power in Odisha and at center for the third term, at one time, don't forget, had 2 members of parliament in Lok Sabha. If nobody wrote them off, why would you write off when 51 MLAs are there of Biju Janata Dal? I don't think electoral politics works like that. One time in UK, there was a party called Liberal Party. Nobody thought ever it can come to power. It formed coalition government there. So I don't think it is about writing it off. Biju Janata Dal has had a temporary setback. It will certainly come back stronger out of this experience and with a renewed commitment to serve Odisha and people of Odisha.
Sir, it will be a very obvious question if I ask you what is the future of Biju Janata Dal, because you very rightfully answered it. This is something I would like to ask. Who is the future of Biju Janata Dal?
I think again the question has been asked to Naveen Babu as well. Naveen Babu has always said that the people of Odisha would decide who is his successor and who would lead Biju Janata Dal. I think every political party goes through that process as well. That whenever there is a vacuum created, if at all there is a vacuum, air comes from somewhere else to fill that vacuum. Equilibrium is the nature of the world. So therefore, Biju Janata Dal, having been a party of such significance, has many capable people who people of Odisha, the members of the party, will choose as to who would lead it whenever there is a need for throwing up an alternate leader to Mr. Naveen Patnaik. But as of today, Mr. Naveen Patnaik as party president is providing the direction, guidance to the party, leading the party from the front. And I think everybody is rallying around him. And I think everybody, his birthday went on 16th, and hundreds and thousands of people prayed for his long life and health. And he is in as perfect health as anybody else to lead this party for many more years. When that issue comes up, and I'm sure the party is strong enough to find alternatives.
Sir, as when I talked to you, initially when I came, of course, when you declined or maybe you didn't respond, I won't say decline, when you didn't respond to my interview time during the election, I was like, how arrogant, of course.
First of all, I apologize if I didn't accept, but that time, you must understand, as a first-time candidate, I was running against time for everything. And there were so many media requests for interviews and meeting. There's only so much I could cope, and it had nothing to do about you or what you do. And I'm delighted that we are perhaps meeting now. And maybe I am able to give you better answers than I would have been able to give at that point.
So what is that one major USP that you have? This is a case study for someone who comes from corporate.
I don't think I'm looking for a USP. Instead of a USP, I would say, what's the package you bring?
Okay.
So I bring global experience. I bring, having worked in many different situations, have worked with retail shops, I've worked with farmers in fertilizer business that I worked with, I've worked with factory workers, I've worked with communities in rural areas. So what you call as stakeholders in society, all of them I've worked with. School children, managing schools, all kinds of things I've done in my life. So I bring a holistic package understanding of what people's needs and aspirations are, what it takes to execute things, how to create a vision about something. As a candidate, I don't know if you looked at it, I perhaps was one of the rare candidates who published an ideas manifesto for Cuttack parliamentary constituency. Very few people would have thought about that. And many of the ideas that are there in my ideas manifesto are still very relevant for Cuttack, and if I had been elected, I would have pursued all of them in consultation with others. So I have all these innovative ideas, I have a vision, I have the ability to execute, and importantly, I have worked with all kinds of stakeholders. So it's a package, it's not about USP.
It's a package.
Package is the USP.
Elections are over. Now we go back.
Right.
You have to give me 3 points and say 3 things you would go back and change, and that will lead to your victory.
No, so I'm not going to change anything, frankly speaking. I perhaps needed a little more time to campaign. I had 40 days. I was campaigning for the first time, not knowing how to navigate the 7 very unique assembly segments. I did not have an organization of my own on the ground. I was relying on other people, my colleagues who were MLA candidates or party machinery. All of them did a lot of work. But then it was not a direct experience of mine, but I'm much wiser now, having been there in the first time and gone with people. So it's not about changing. I think it is about time. It is about understanding the process, how the electoral process operates, campaign operates. So I have a lot more experience now, having gone through one election, to play the game as it is played. It's like you play an international match for the first time. You're not used to the pitch, etc. But I think I'm now a lot more experienced on that.
So now if we are back, having a election tomorrow, are we seeing Mr. Santrupt Misra again contesting from Cuttack?
5 years down the line, I do not know. Tomorrow, if there's an election, I may.
You may?
Yeah, I may. Yes.
Rajya Sabha or Lok Sabha?
It depends on what party gives the responsibility. It's not my choice.
If you had a personal choice?
If I had a personal choice, I will always go back to people, because that's who I have always worked with, and that's where I derive my joy from, I derive my strength from, and they energize me. So I'll always go back to people.
Sir, I'll come to one of the most interesting parts, that's the rapid fire.
Sure.
If you were the election manager or handling of the entire election for Biju Janata Dal in 2024 election, how differently you would have planned things?
I perhaps would have chosen the candidates a lot earlier.
Candidates a lot earlier?
Yeah. Instead of choosing some candidates too close to the election dates, I would have chosen them much earlier, giving them more time
the same
to prepare.
Candidates or?
Well, I may have changed some candidates somewhere, but I would have certainly given all of them more time.
More time.
Yes.
Instead of waiting for BJP and Congress to come up with their...
No, it was not about that. Maybe we just took a little too long in some places to, do it, yeah.
BJP should focus on the regional aspect right now or look at the national vision?
No, it is a regional party, and I think that is its USP, and we must stay focused on Odisha. People like me join them because they are focused on Odisha. If I were looking at other platforms, there are other national parties. But the USP of Biju Janata Dal, it is so involved with the development of Odisha and people of Odisha. So that's its unique thing, and it should remain like that.
Restoring BJD to power right now or reshaping, restructuring the entire party structure? What is the need of that?
No, I think, one should not be desperate to come back to power. When the right time comes, people will bring us back to power. We must use this interregnum to think more, act more, plan more, connect with people more, and continue to play the role of a responsible opposition and ask ourselves, what is the agenda for the future that would serve the best interests of people of Odisha? And I think asking those questions, creating new agenda, new programs, new future, that's what we need to kind of create and reposition the party in minds of people so that they bring us back to power.
BJP's rise in Odisha, was it BJP's anti-incumbency or BJP's great strategic management?
I think a bit of both. I think BJP perhaps wanted to make some forays into Odisha, so obviously they were investing more. If I recall, during election, to my constituency alone, the Prime Minister, the Home Minister, the Railways Minister, MP Hema Malini, several leaders came to my own constituency, whereas my opponent was 6-time MP, which meant that the state was very important to BJP. And of course, along with that, there would have been the fatigue of 24 years that was there. As we talked, we perhaps were a little overconfident. We could have perhaps been more proactive and responsive. And the two together perhaps led to the outcome that happened.
Considering the entire situation right now, whatever is happening, how do you see saffronization of Odisha?
See, Odisha at core is driven by the culture of Lord Jagannath. And Lord Jagannath's culture, those who understand, they know, from Sala Bega to Dasya Bauri. And Lord Jagannath is one Lord who comes out on the chariot to meet everybody irrespective of who they are. And those who believe in that culture, I think they believe in inclusion in society of everyone, development of everyone, connect with everyone. And I think no sectarian agenda ever would be a sustainable phenomenon in Odisha because it's such a diverse society there. You have so many tribals there, so many tribal languages there, subcultures are there, the large proportion of population are OBCs. There is coast, there is mountains, it is a unique state. And therefore, I don't think sectarianism goes with the Odisha psyche. Odisas are liberal, they're generous, they're kind, and they're inclusive. And therefore, I think anybody who pursues a sectarian agenda is unlikely to succeed. They may temporarily succeed, but will ultimately fail.
Sir, in Odisha politics, who is that one person you think from Bharatiya Janata Party, not from BJD, from Bharatiya Janata Party, you think is the rising leader or the rising star?
I think that Bharatiya Janata Party should be able to answer that to you. I think in Biju Janata Dal, we are focused on nurturing our own leaders within to make sure that they make effective representatives of people.
Don't you think we are going wrong there? Because, coming from the corporate world, we always see what our opponent is doing and there's always a learning takeaway from that.
So look, in politics, I won't define a party that is different from you as an opponent. They are our competitors. In corporate, we look at others as competitors. Yes. So I look at other parties as competitors, not as my opponents. So, and I think, yes, I will watch the competitors, but in the competitors, as I would not watch individuals there, even in political party, as a competitor, I won't watch individual leaders. I would always watch the collectivity called the party, its ideology, what they're doing and how they're connecting with people and what their programs are, and compare my program policies, etc. with that.
One thing from BJP, or it can be from Congress, it can be from BSP, it can be from any party, that you would bring it to Odisha context and apply it on BJD for a comeback?
I think we need to perhaps continue to strengthen the cadre of the party at all levels. Some parties do it very well. Some parties don't do it very well. BJD for a long time did it very well, but perhaps we became a little complacent. We could do it much better going forward.
Sir, in one word, how would you define Odisha's politics?
Odisha's politics...
I will interrupt a bit. In one corporate lingo, how would you define Odisha's politics?
I think Odisha's politics is evolving. So, strategies evolve, Odisha's politics is evolving. Expectations are changing. The nature of leadership is changing. And I think Odisha will signal to India that its electorate is very mature and can make choices very effectively, even in a short period of time.
So you mean to say this time they didn't?
Well, it made a choice, but perhaps in the absence of alternatives, made a wrong choice. And I'm sure that they realize and they will make the right choice going forward.
Off the track record, are you into sports or something? Or
I used to play cricket in my school, college days, not an outstanding player, but enjoyed playing that. Right now, one doesn't get much time to play sports. Yeah.
So right now you're in kabaddi in politics?
Well,
or chess?
Politics can be compared with every game, actually.
Monopoly?
Anything, actually, So there are shades of different sports and games in politics, depending on where you look and how you look at it.
Can be snake ladder, it can also be chess.
Can be anything, yeah, absolutely, yeah.
I don't think it can be lawn tennis, but okay.
It can be that also, like how do you volley, how do you serve,
Oh.
how you give the backhand, It can be like lawn terrace as well.
I would like to think about this. Sir, I'll come to the food aspect. We are having green tea pe charcha until you want a chai pe charcha. I mean, maybe I think you can have dahi vada charcha, dahi vada aludam charcha.
I don't want to take away the brand equity of the Honorable Prime Minister saying that I'm doing chai pe charcha, you know.
So are we going to see, having a dahi vada aludam charcha or something?
Of course. Dahi vada aludam make a perfect foil for any kind of discussion, you know.
Really?
It's very joyful actually. Lately, I don't know if you've been to Cuttack and the Baravati Stadium and that area where, you know, dahi vada aludam historically have been the point of attraction. Every time I go there, I hope and find, even on Naveen Babu's birthday on 16th when I was there in Cuttack, my colleagues, we had a blood donation camp and they served me dahi vada dum aloo and I had a great joy.
It's not dum aloo. I'm sorry. No, it's not dum aloo. It's aludam.
It is aludam in Odisha, but for, you know, people in other parts of India may not understand aludam, no dum aloo, they understand.
No, they say
better
dahi
perhaps.
bhulli, here it's not.
I know, of course, yes.
I remember coming and I think for me it's a tradition, anyone who's coming from Odisha and I'll be like, can you bring me some dahi vada aludam? And I'm from Bhubaneswar. I'm born and brought up in Bhubaneswar.
Right.
So Bhubaneswar and Cuttack, we're not friends. We're definitely not friends. We have the best lassi, that is Lingaraj lassi for us.
Okay.
And Cuttack people fight that they have the best lassi.
Well, I think it's a part of feeling proud about what you have. And I'm glad that everybody finds their own reason to feel proud.
That's a very strategic balance.
No, it is.
Think that.
People must have something to feel proud about. And I'm glad that the ordinary pleasures of life, call it dahi vada aludam or call it lassi or call it whatever, if people take pride in it, it's a good thing.
And if you are in, talking about food, we're talking about everything. Apart from politics, what keeps you up?
What keeps me up? Nothing keeps me up, unless I want to be up. I think I take interest in international politics. I take interest in reading. I take interest in spending time with my friends. So I have many interests, sharing some time with my family. So I have many interests.
So next time, considering you're contesting elections again, can you tell it on the camera that if I'm asking you for an appointment, I have to shoot, I have to have an interview, you're not just going to show me away?
I am promising this to all of you that whenever you next time ask me for time, I'll make it a priority to give you time. Yeah, that's good enough promise.
There's a wedding happening. Sir, have you crashed a wedding ever?
Me? Yes. Younger days, school, college, yes, sometimes, yes.
Are you willing to crash out?
Oh, no, not now. Not at this stage in life. No.
What's wrong? Politicians crash every phase. Why can't you crash?
No, I am not a typical politician as we talked about it.
तो आप मुझे बोल रहे हैं कि यहाँ पे रैंडमली एक चीज बताइए जो पॉलिटिशियंस जाते हैं किसी के भी घर पे लाइक खाना होता है वो बैठ जाते हैं.
They invite, I suspect. I think uninvited they don't go. At least I don't go.
So the food comes from a hygiene place from their house or is it like वहीं पे सच्ची में बना है and खा रहे हैं?
No. I think, both possible. During campaign, a lot of people with great affection gave me a lot of things to eat during campaign. I was very worried about it. But I think...
Oh, you were worried that you will fall sick?
Yeah, you could, because with the heat and everything you are going and you being fed something or the other. But I think, when people give you something with affection so much, I don't think you fall sick easily with that.
I think that's a very politically correct answer.
No, but it's not. It's a fact. The very fact that I did not fall sick says that people what gave me with affection did not impact.
So, आप घर से पैक करा के नहीं गए थे?
कुछ नहीं लेता था मैं. Never.
Right now, today I was talking to Mr. Santrupt Misra. Everyone in Cuttack, everyone in Odisha, he's surprised by his entry into politics. Odisha election was a surprise for a lot of you. What went wrong? What went right? We just heard in the conversation. But how far we go in the introspection and find that if this same learnings BJD will implement from the years of experience that Mr. Santrupt Misra is bringing, and will BJD be able to bounce back? I don't know if I'm going to crash a wedding or not, but will BJD as a party crash or fly or bounce or hit back? Will it sell through or will it sink through? Only time would say. Tell me in the comment section. And I'm very sure I'm looking forward to some really interesting comments out there. What are your opinions? Do you think Mr. Santrupt Misra can save out the party at this point of time? Because it is often told, people join the party when it's always in the power. Success has many fathers. but failure has none. Will he be able to give BJP a new ray of hope? Time will say. Until then, let's crash the wedding.